finding.
All right, so we'll call the Economic Development Commission meeting to order at 6:02. First item on our agenda is public comment, and I don't know that we have any members of the public here, unless Josh, if you have anything you'd like to. All right, we'll let you off the hook. From there, we do not have a quorum, so we can't do the minutes. So we'll move right into reports. First one is a subcommittee report. I think the only subcommittee that's met is the reg review committee, which we just met a minute ago, but we're on the agenda further down lane, so we'll hold our comments until then. Cynthia, did anything else we should be talking about for subcommittee reports, or can we move on to the next item?
We can move on.
Great. So staff update, and we'll turn that one over to Cynthia.
Okay, great. Well, I just wanted to update you on the second round of the ARPA application. So we, with a review team, reviewed the applications, and 19 have been approved. So we're in the midst of, actually, I'm sorry, I've sent out all the grant assistance agreements, and I've gotten about 5 or 6 back. So we'll get those back probably over the next couple of weeks, and then goes to Ryan for signature, and then for final approval by the Department of Finance. So again, Lane and Valessa helped out from the EDC, and it was very helpful to have everybody's input. So that's good news. And we had 19 in the first round, ironically. So that's great for the town. And again, appreciate Tony and Brian's support for funding for our businesses. I introduced Josh, and he talked a little bit about what he's doing. Just you should have gotten an invitation from Josh for our 4-town/Connecticut's Countryside Summit on January 30th at 7 o'clock. It'll be over at Coventry's Patriots Park. And this is a follow-up to the work that many stakeholders did with us back in pre-pandemic. So this is an update for our towns, as well as trying to get people more involved in what we're trying to do. We have several pillars that we're focused on, ag, outdoor recreation, or a few. So if you haven't RSVP'd, please do so. We'll send another invite out after the new year. The other big event that Josh has been working on.
Cynthia, sorry, real quick, with respect to the last event at Patriot Park, is that an indoor event, like in the building there, or this is like outside in the pavilion?
Indoor, and I hope I'm getting the right name. Josh will tell, right? It's Patriots Park.
Yeah, it's Patriots Park Lodge.
Lodge, thank you.
Yeah.
I had flashbacks to sitting on that amphitheater in the snow. Didn't sound all that inviting, but inside sounds a lot better. So thank you.
Building snowmen, that's part of it. Community building, right?
Yeah.
The other thing that Josh has been working on is coordinating various Earth Day events in April. So he's been working with the different towns, and at one point we talked a little bit about doing a sort of a standalone event. And now what we're trying to do is just promote the region with events that the town staff is already doing. So led by Margaret in Ryan's office, we have a meeting on events in general in a couple of weeks in mid-January, and we'll feed some Earth Day events to Josh and the other towns. I think that's it. There's a couple of other updates under other items, but I think that's it for now, unless there are other things that people want to prompt me on or things I forgot.
All right, thank you so much, Cynthia. Appreciate it. Business updates, openings and closings. Does anybody have any openings or closings to report from your travels around town? Anything in the down, Nancy?
Did anybody hear that Fresh Fork is closed for good? I saw that on the Mansfield page, and I don't know if it's actually true or not.
That is a very good question, Nancy. So just a little bit of feedback. So we, our I contacted the property owner, and I have not heard back from him, but we did, Denise in our office walked over there because we were hoping to put in coupons for winter welcome and, didn't hear back. So this was right before winter welcome. So that was early December. So I have not heard anything. I know their website appears to be down.
And somebody said that their phone was off.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and then somebody else said that they may be going through a divorce or a blah, blah. I don't know. I don't want to talk out of school, so.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
you
I
think,
just wasn't sure if anybody knew that for sure.
you think it's a closing for a personal reason, not because the business failed?
I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure. I mean, that is a tough spot. I think,
And I know that they were having some staffing issues at one point.
yeah. But then, on an aside from that, Sticks and Stones opened the Italian place, which was supposedly, I think, very awesome from what I've read online. That
I
people
have
really
friends who are having dinner there right now. I'll let you
Yeah.
know.
I heard it was fantastic. So yeah, I'm very excited about that.
Did they keep the name or are they gonna rename the restaurant?
It's called Sticks and Stones Marketplace. Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm never available to go and eat there. But maybe someday I'll be able to like scooch out.
You gotta get the boss to give you a night off.
Yes, you think? I wish.
Excellent. Cynthia, any announcements we can, I guess there probably aren't any, but any announcements for new tenants in the downtown or?
No, the only update that I have is that Chase is now opening in March. So yeah, I think there were some, I mean, they haven't been working there for at least a month. So I think it's maybe they're waiting for some interior infrastructure. I'm not sure, but that's the latest. It was supposed to be November and now it's going to be March.
All right, thank you very much.
It also looks like there's a lot of stuff going across a street from you, Steve.
Yeah, they
They're
got a lot of equipment parked out there.
There's a lot. I mean, I'm just waiting for the day that I drive by that it's just all torn down.
I hope I'm in the office that day and not out and about because it'll be something to watch. But they've been doing quite a bit of work over there. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's insane.
all right. Next on our agenda is housing updates. Cynthia, do you want to take this one or?
Yeah, I can do that. I would just, refer to Jennifer Kaufman's memo that was in your packet. You'll see the cannabis establishments, they adopted the zoning regs, and this is again for kind of those two key areas in Mansfield that you all reviewed and sent a letter of support on. The other thing that I will mention is that the Planning and Zoning Commission has received a pre-application for a restaurant use at the corner of South Eagleville and Stores Road. So this is adjacent to the Mansfield Apartments on the property, right on that property there owned by UConn, and the potential there for a Chipotle. So the developer is Store Center Alliance, which was the developer for Store Center that the partnership worked with for, close to 10 years. So it's a pre-application, which is, no decisions are made or anything like that. So that is going to be 6 o'clock on Monday and all their meetings are virtual. So I have updated the partnership board since it is in downtown Stores. They have not look to opt into the Store Center Special Design District at this point. Again, they're just at the pre-app phase, which will require them to follow certain design guidelines, et cetera, pretty extensive. So we'll see how that evolves, but wanted to let the EDC know about that.
Brian, did you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, I have a couple comments about the restaurant on that corner. That's almost right on the corner of 195 and 275. adjacent to the existing Mansfield apartments. I would think a drive-through might be problematic there. Honestly, with all the traffic that's going in and out, I know this is, a pre-application, but it's something you might want to keep in mind. Also, Cynthia, you said that the University of Connecticut owns that property?
Yes, but Store Center Alliance has had an option on that property for many, many years.
Oh, so there's an option, and then that it actually may be eligible for taxes for the town of Mansfield in the future?
That would be my understanding, Brian, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Tony?
Aren't there any rules about competition up there? I mean, with Moe's on one end and Chipotle on the other, they think that's going to be okay?
There's no, and this is where it gets interesting. So just for those of you that were around then, so when Store Center Alliance developed the downtown, they owned the property, they sold it off to two different property owners. So for instance, and sort of we'll put the other piece aside. So you could put a Chipotle in where Grill 86 is, even with Moe's, because that's a separate property owner. Now, Moe's may have a non-compete clause, but they're not, it's a completely different situation. Store Center Alliance no longer owns any of that property, so there's no non-competes.
Sounds a little foolish to me, but I mean, Dunkin' Donuts drove out Ruger Bagels, or it was part of that anyway. It just seems foolish. Anyway, go ahead.
I think that's all I had. I think, Jennifer's got her very thorough memo. There's several public hearings coming up, one of which we'll talk about in a few minutes, but as usual, there's a lot going on. I did want to also just flag the public hearing for a wetlands application for basically student housing up on King Hill Road. So that's one that's sort of been out there for a while in terms of consideration.
I don't know if Tony can speak to that, but so they've worked out the water and sewer access for that, sounds like?
Yes, our new sewer agreement with the university says that it gives the town a certain allocation. I think it's 400,000 gallons per day. And as long as the new developments do not exceed that, the university will not take any position on whether or not they should be developed. So the question is only how much sewage they're going to put out, and does it fall under the 400,000. At the moment, existing buildings, Oaks, Town Hall, schools, etc., are using about 125,000. So there's a lot of room for growth.
Right.
The
Wonderful.
one little wrinkle I would add to what Tony just said, and she was spot on with everything. The one little wrinkle is there is language in the new agreement that basically says if we start to approach the 400,000 gallons, it would trigger additional review. So it's not, basically if you have a large enough project that even if you still have a lot of capacity, you're likely to be knocking on the door of that 400,000 gallons. UConn could require additional review and consideration, but for smaller projects that keep us, let's say still well below 350,000 gallons aggregate, it will not be an issue.
And that's pretty far away, although if everything is being proposed at Four Corners gets built, we might get there.
Yeah, that gap will definitely tighten in a hurry if all the things at Four Corners alone that have been planned come online in the next few years.
Is that what the definition of approach is? It's within 50,000 gallons, or does it literally just say approach?
It's not 50,000 gallons, and it would really, so this is where, there's a little bit of squishiness in terms of what one engineer agrees with versus another. The amount is how close would a proposed new development come to the 400,000 gallons? And so what I mean is, let's say we were at 300,000 gallons and a development comes along, they're saying it's going to be a 50,000 gallon a day project, and Yukon says, no, we think it's north of 100, which would push us over the four. Then that's where a dispute could arise between engineers.
Okay, yeah, well, that's never gonna happen. Right,
I don't know.
For right now,
Well,
we're
there's
nowhere
a
close
lot.
and it won't be an issue, but once a few of these projects at the Four Corners come to fruition, we'll be pretty close to 400, based on the projects that we know about that are already in current land use review. We'll be getting close.
I agree.
Anything further on housing updates? All right. Move on to the calendar. Now, did we vote on the calendar last time, Cynthia?
You already voted on your meeting dates. This is just the
Okay.
calendar of different things over the next year to kind of put it on your radar.
Keep it on our radar. Excellent. All right.
Yep.
So unless anyone has anything they want to add to the calendar, we'll move on to our next discussion item, which is the zoning map amendment application. So this was in, I think the link was in the email to this. And then Lane and I just had a meeting with the developers, which it was recorded. So once it gets posted to the town YouTube page, they gave a fantastic presentation, very thorough, really laid out what they're proposing. It's a transitional zone, which we haven't had yet in our towns. It's kind of a new idea. And the idea being that it abuts both high density in the standard, which is what's going up across the street from my office. And it also abuts a residential neighborhood, which would be Timber Drive, where there's houses that have been there for 50 or 60 years, you know, on 1 acre lots in the middle of the woods. So the idea is trying to be sensitive to existing neighborhood while also being consistent with the high density across the street. It's a 22 acre site. A lot of it is wet, like a lot of it is the cedar swamp. So it looked like they're building on roughly half of it. They mentioned 120 units. And the smallest buildings would be 2.5 stories. Largest were, was it 3 or 4? 3, I think.
great,
Um,
the office,
and then-
the office stuff would be 3.
Yeah, office and retail along the front of the property, which would be right along 195, and then residential towards the back, which would be abutting existing homeowners. They did say one of the mitigating factors they had working in their favor for lessening the impact in the neighborhoods was the topography of the site, which sloped down quite a bit. So they felt that these new buildings wouldn't be imposing upon the residential neighborhood in the back. But obviously we would need to see site plans to see just how accurate that would be. Lane, you want to give any impressions of yours or any thoughts you had?
Yeah, no, I thought it was interesting, the idea of the height of things going down from the street you go closer to the neighborhoods was interesting. Like you said, it was very thoughtful. I do worry a little bit about the traffic there. They did talk about having done a traffic study and that they sort of got a green light for one or expression respect to that. But you know, I've tried there certain times a day. You can imagine as somebody's trying to turn left into that new property or you know right from coming from Yukon, that there could be traffic backups that start without a whole lot of difficulty. So
Yeah, I'll second what you say. As someone who turns left into my office a lot, cars travel exceptionally fast right around here, like over 50, 55 miles an hour. And it can be real scary to sit there waiting your turn to get out of the road because they'll come flying along. So, yeah. So I think Lane and I will put our heads together and see if we can't come up with a recommendation. There's not really much action we can take tonight because we don't have a quorum, but we will get back to you in the future once we get some thoughts together on it. Unless, Lane, you have anything else you want to add?
Nope.
Cynthia, you were there, anything?
Steve, could you clarify exactly where this location is?
Yeah, so if you know, well, the standard where all this construction is going on right now, it would be across the street from that, more so like directly across from the old Willards building, the Central Canine area. So a little bit further up 195 away from campus on the opposite side of the road.
Now, there was a property sold by Mike Taylor.
That's the property.
That's the property. Okay.
Yeah, so it basically would be between the former Leonard building, like where the Nature's Medicine dispensary used to be located,
Mhm.
and the corner of Timber Drive. It's not the actual corner, there's a house on the corner, but basically from Nature's Medicine to where that house is. All right. Cynthia, sorry to cut you off. Did you have any thoughts, anything you want to put out there on this one?
No, I don't think so.
Great. So then we will, let's see here. We're kind of cruising through this because there's not a lot of official official visits we can hold without a quorum. So we'll keep it brief tonight. Organizational meeting, I think we're still looking to round out one more slot, I think. Is that what I remember from last time? We had 2 volunteers and we needed a third. So keep that in mind. Hopefully we'll sort that out in January when we have a quorum, we can vote on it. Discussion of the EDC budget priorities. We presented at the last meeting, I believe, Cynthia.
Nope, I don't think so.
Was that just you and I in our pre-prep meeting?
Isn't this from the governance subcommittee meeting?
Yeah, so
There you go.
want me to
That's
do
right,
an
and
overview, Steve?
Yeah, that'd be great.
And I think we wanted to note that I think it said Development Project Review Subcommittee on the agenda, but it's supposed to say governance.
Yes, thank you, Josh,
Subcommittee.
for the reminder. That was my goof. So thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Good
so
thing she has me.
you keep telling me that. It is true, though. So yes, so Lane and Valessa, who are on the governance committee, reviewed the priorities, and then I talked to Steve subsequent to that. So this will look similar in terms of format. So there's kind of 3 buckets: economic development staffing, implementation of the positioning marketing development plan, and Taste of Mansfield. So I'll just go over it quickly, and would love to hear any questions. I'll try to hit the high points. So currently, we are, I'm including $40,000 to continue the consulting agreement between the partnership and the town. I've had some conversation with Ryan and Tony about that, so there may be some subsequent conversations about economic development services and how we can continue to enhance the relationship. So, but the second iteration of the 3-year agreement is up June 30th. So, seeking support to continue that agreement. We'll continue what I hope has been a successful business digest, which Kathleen's done a great job with, sending that out every month, and hopefully you all are receiving that. Still working on the economic development website. The subcommittee on business support and outreach will be working on the business visits. The other thing that we've talked about in this group, and Steve and I talked about, was starting to implement the social networking meetings, or socials, I should say, similar to what the partnership is doing. So I think the goal would be to do 2 to 4 of those a year. And Steve had suggested some initial dates in August and May. The other one that's out there is the possible application to establish the Mansfield Cultural District. And we had talked about that with Wendy Berry, and Nancy had brought that to our attention. We've had at Steve's and Ryan's suggestion, we've asked Kara Workman at UConn for a partner at UConn, and I'm waiting to hear from Kara. I hope to talk to her next week. So in terms of the positioning and marketing plan, I wanted to, I I met with my colleagues Kathleen Patterson in our office, and Margaret in Ryan's office, talked a little bit about the marketing budget. So we're recommending that the focus continue to be on Mansfield residents, Yukon employees, and visitors. So we want to increase resident engagement with the existing offerings. We want to encourage stronger support of businesses within the town. We want to strengthen community pride and sense of place. That's for our residents. For Yukon employees, we want to increase awareness among employees that work but do not live in town of what we have to offer and encourage them to linger longer. So for instance, attending events, meeting up for lunch and dinner, and our summer stroll is something that we try to do in May to really reach out to the Yukon community. And then for visitors, we want to continue to position Mansfield as a premier destination for arts, dining and outdoor recreation, and capitalize on our regular and regional visitors that come to town for activities, E.O. Smith activities, Yukon events, outdoor activities. So some of the highlights there are our wayfinding and signage plan. We met with our consultant for 2 days, 2 weeks ago. And so we have a good feel for where the signs will go. And again, we're hoping to use money separate from this money to start implementation of the signs, hopefully this spring or summer. We're also, yeah.
Cynthia,
Yes,
there
Tony.
are different signs on different roads. There's a brown a circle oval that says, that's a historic sign. There's a state sign. Are all of our signs going to replace all of those?
Most of them. They will definitely replace those brown signs. We do have signs for all the villages, and we have signs proposed for the historic districts, of which I think there's 2, right? Spring Hill and Mansfield Center.
Mansfield Hollow, there's a third.
Mansfield Hollow, Mansfield, okay. So yes, I mean, the goal is to show a comprehensive and consistent sign palette that will just, I think, make more appealing and hopefully help with direction. We're also beefing up our advertising and media plan. So advertisements in local and regional print media. We're also talking about direct mail to residents, highlighting upcoming events and activities. We feel that it's a fairly large investment, but an important investment. Video, we're also to do some video. I think the video that was done for the schools was great, and Margaret's doing some follow-up there. We'll be finalizing the community calendar, and then we will be starting our second iteration of Restaurant Week. So I hope Brian's ready to go to all his restaurants. And hopefully Nancy and Hops I'll put her on the spot, will participate again. I see a thumbs up. And then finally, Taste of Mansfield. Josh has taken on the staffing role, which has been really helpful. So we have a consistent staff on Taste of Mansfield, working with Margaret, Jeff Martin at Yukon Extension, Jennifer and Dorothy in Human Services. So our goal is to continue to connect people through local food, updates to our website, branding the town of Mansfield with other town initiatives that relate to the mission, more photography and videography of our farms, the second iteration of the Taste of Mansfield Champion Award, and possibly going back to hosting community dinners. That was something that was funded through a grant, but the thought is possibly Taste of Mansfield would take that on. So that was a quick overview. And if Lane and Steve, who I had discussed this with previously, have anything to add, and then obviously open it up for questions and suggestions.
I think you were incredibly comprehensive, Cynthia. I'm not going to try to top that. So I'll say, if anyone has any thoughts or questions, we'll take those. Otherwise, we'll move on to our next item. All right.
The only thing that I have, Cynthia, is like you said about mailings.
Yep.
I don't know how well those actually work. I mean, people just get so much junk mail that they just throw it out. I think social medias might be better. I mean, that's my thought. I don't know what other people, how other people's feelings are.
I agree, Nancy. I think the paper clutter and email clutter, like there's a big issue with those two ways of disseminating information. I'm in agreement that most people are finding out things through social media.
Yeah. I mean, I get a stack of mail like this at home and it goes like this and it goes into the junk mail.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's a lot of money to waste as far, 50 cents. I don't even know how much postage is anymore. For somebody to just throw it out.
And I think we actually agree in concept, but we hear, through the grapevine, or we hear directly that people don't know about events, so they don't know what's going on.
I get
And
it.
so this was one way to try to provide additional information. So, but like I said, as a concept, I think we agree with you. We just
Right.
want to make sure that we're getting to everybody in Mansfield that we need to get to.
I mean, I think it's worth a try, but let's see how it works,
Yeah.
Let's check it out. Yeah.
I will say also that people are reading the Mansfield connections, and I feel that sometimes the information is a little too late for the public. So I got a lot of questions about, is the winter welcome happening because people couldn't find it in the connections? So that might be a different way to have that mailing, but perhaps do it through the Mansfield connections where people are already getting something that they're reading and looking.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point, Kristen. That would be a great media to disseminate the information. I think their lead time on that magazine is a couple of months. So it's not like we could turn it around. We might have the information ready to give to them, but they might not be able to post it or publish it too quickly. So it might not work for all events, but for certain events where we know months in advance, that would be a great way to do it.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, Kristen, you're talking about Mansfield Connections, the publication, not the Facebook page, Mansfield Connections.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
and we have put stuff in there in the past, but Steve's right, the lead time can be difficult, but we are working on our event calendar for next year that we hope to finalize by early January, so we can send that out. So yes, we will work harder on getting that information out.
I have kind of a quirky question that's just been brought to the fore by the fact that our UConn men's and women's basketball teams are both phenomenally successful at the moment. Why did the town of Mansfield never put up a sign that identified stores as the college basketball center of the universe or something like that? People talked about it all the time. That was, we've got the only men's and women's programs who've won national championships in the same year, done twice. I don't know, just seemed kind of obvious to me, but.
Part of the problem is the differentiation between Mansfield and stores. UConn advertises itself as stores. And that is a real problem for us. But I take your point. Mansfield has sort of tried to differentiate itself from the university, even though that's really a ridiculous thing to do. Those signs are, by the way, on 84 as you come into town, but not on.
Well, they've got the national championship signs up, right? But it's not. Yeah. It's not the kind of more colloquial, like, look at us, we're,
Right.
So Lane,
that was just a thought.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Tony. Sorry, Lane.
Oh, let's go right ahead. I'm done.
Are you talking about like banners across 195?
No, it'd just be like a sign somewhere. I don't know, like welcome to Mansfield College Basketball Center of the Universe or something like that.
Right.
Although we'd probably say stores because that's what people identify with it. But
yeah, that's
or you could say stores Mansfield, like the postal address.
Right. Let's think.
We're also interestingly probably the town that's identified in Weezer's Beverly Hills. So I don't know if anybody wants to go there, but I think that's pretty funny.
He grew up here.
Yep. I think we should have a Rivers Cuomo Day too, but that's just me.
He did grow up here, and apparently he hated every minute of it.
We're not going to talk about that part. All right, back to our agenda here. Lane, that's a great suggestion and one we should definitely follow up on, because if we're doing the signage plan, it's kind of an offshoot of that. And if we could find a spot to kind of, especially if you want to, wherever you fall in the political of like, do we support UConn or we want our own identity? At the end of the day, as economic development, we're talking about bringing people in to Mansfield, spend a day and make a day of it or whatever. And a huge driver of make a day of it is all the stuff that goes on at UConn. And so if we can't celebrate and promote that, we're missing out on a big opportunity. So yeah, we have to figure out a way to play to our strengths.
I mean, why can't something be put down like near the Mansfield sign on 32 and 195? That
We
says,
need a basketball shaped rotary with a big basketball shaped sign in the middle of it, I think is what we need.
Yeah. college
So,
capital of the
what I'm talking
world,
about.
basketball capital of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
I
let's see
That in
here. I
my,
lost
I
my
used that on
spot.
my video.
All right. We good on the budget there, Cynthia?
I think so. Yeah, we'll keep
All right.
tweaking it a little bit, but we have a,
Great.
well, anyway, go ahead.
So we need a EDC delegate for the Taste of Mansfield Champion Award. I believe Brian did this for us last year and did a great job. I don't know, Brian, if you're interested in doing it again, or if we want to rotate to somebody else, give somebody else a chance, but yeah, we'll open discussion on that and see where people fall.
Would you explain what this position is?
Yeah, I
But-
can do that, Tony. So basically so last year what we did, we sent applications out to, I think we put it on the website and then we targeted it to a few entities. It's producer, educator. So last year it was Cobblestone Farm. Why am I forget the food services person at Mansfield Schools. And the greenhouse, why am I forgetting the name of it, out on 44.
Tri-corners,
Yes.
Tri-County.
County, yeah. So we had a small group that evaluated the applications and made the decision on who the champions were. It's not a heavy lift.
Anyone interested at the moment? I think we just lost Brian, so maybe
Yes.
we'll if we don't have any volunteers, we'll twist his arm once he gets back on. All right. Next on our agenda is follow up on the co-working spaces. Cynthia or Josh, or maybe both of you, sent out links to the Manchester space. So if you would like to independently go check that out, that's another resource. We've kind of talked about the trip that some of the members took to West Hartford. Did anybody have anything any thoughts on this they wanted to bring up? Because I know we had a couple of people that didn't make the last one.
Yeah, I think Kristen wasn't at the last one because I think Nancy provided some input. So I don't know, Kristen, if.
Sure. No, I'd be happy to speak to that. I think I went in thinking that it couldn't be a possibility. However, just a moment, excuse me. However, I was pleasantly surprised by how unique the space was and how they had different options for different types of people and businesses, which I really liked. And it wasn't in the center of West Hartford. And so in thinking about Mansfield, I always assumed that it had to be a space that would be in the center, of Store Center. And the more I think about it, there are small businesses in town that are looking for a space to be able to rent that's not full-time, that perhaps has conference areas, that has a small space for them to have a home. But that's reasonably priced where they don't have to rent a building or a full space all the time. So I do think it's something the town should consider, and especially as we consider what to do, with the schools in town and different spaces in town. I think it's worth a conversation.
Excellent. Thank you, Kristen. It's interesting because I hadn't ever considered it being in the downtown. I had always figured it'd be somewhere else. And the meeting we just had with the other developer mentioned a co-working space as a possible use for this new project that they have going up across from where the standard is going to be. So yeah, anyway, it's very interesting, and I'm glad we had such positive feedback from everyone who was able to attend. So next is the Yukon Town Collaboration update, but I'm not sure that we've had a general meeting of this since our last EDC. The last meeting we had got postponed. Unless, Tony, you have anything you want to say on this particular item?
No, I understand most of the meetings have been postponed because important people have been out of town or somewhere else at the time.
Okay. And then promotion of arts in Mansfield and the cultural district discussion. Cynthia mentioned this before. We reached out to the Arts Coalition, Arts Advisory Committee, I'm sorry, just to see how they're coming with their feedback as to the type of event and date of event, what they felt might be successful. And we've been working with Ryan and then through Kara Workman at UConn to try to loop UConn into the discussion on this one, given that so many of the assets that we would be listing on our application fall on the UConn campus. It seems only right that we include them in some fashion in this application, since we both have a lot to gain if we're able to pursue this designation. So Cynthia, anything you want to add to that?
No, I don't think so on that item.
Okay, great. Any questions, any comments, thoughts? All right, excellent. That's it. Wow, we got to the end. Communications, we have a bunch of communications attached in our packet, other news articles. Our next meeting is the 19th. Did anybody have anything they wanted to bring up for the good of the order? Any future items for the agenda?
I just
Kristen.
want to let you guys know that Hops 44 won 4 awards for Connecticut Magazine Best Restaurants.
Wow,
Congratulations, Nancy.
that's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it will be coming out in the February issue.
So one of the things that we have been talking about for a while is promoting the awards that our town businesses win. In fact, we were in a meeting, Cindy and I were in a meeting last week with a couple of UConn students in Kara, and the UConn students wanted to get more involved in economic development here in Mansfield. And we were hoping that maybe they could help us with the social media aspect of promoting these kind of things and sharing and getting us out to a wider audience. So maybe once it's official and we can start to broadcast that out, we can use that as our test case.
That would be awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, we're excited about it.
Kristen.
I'm sorry, Kristen, can I just real quick on this? So in the Business Digest, Kathleen put in the awards from the Chronicle. So once the Connecticut Magazine stuff is public, we'll put Nancy's awards and send that out in February.
Perfect.
Congratulations, Nancy. That's awesome news. You're welcome.
Thank
I
you.
just
We're
want
very excited.
definitely worth signage, Nancy. That's for sure. I just wanted to thank everybody with regard to the winter welcome too. You know, I've been talking with a few people, and a couple of the businesses that were there really made some nice connections and were able to have opportunities that they would not have had they not participated in the winter welcome. So I just wanted to provide that feedback where a couple of the businesses got extra business from that event just by being able to network and meet people in our community. So I just wanted to thank everybody for that and let you know that it was.
It's always great to have that kind of feedback. Thank you, Kristen, especially for all the energy and effort that goes into everybody putting on that event, that it does pay off and people are getting value out of it. Anyone else? Comments for the good of the order, thoughts? All right, well, with that, we'll say, hope everyone has a very happy holiday. Thank you very much tonight. We kept it nice and brief, way under an hour, and we'll see you all again in January.
Be well all.
Happy holidays.
Thank you. Happy holidays.